Hello and welcome to my channel Making Crafts. Today I am using the Vintage Shabby Collection by G. Kerr, and this is from Happiness and Crafting, so you can find it in her Etsy shop, Happiness and Crafting, and I will link to it below as well. And so I just wanted to do a quick flip through so you could get an idea of what the pages in this kit look like. And I have printed some of mine double-sided, but I tried to turn up the pages so that you could see a variety and not any repeats. And some of them have fold lines in them because I started working on it and then realized I needed to go ahead and do a flip through before I cut these down so that you can get an idea what they look like. And this page has lots of little tags and journaling cards, and then you have envelopes, and you can use these as like little belly band type things. And then there's a belly band and more envelopes there. So to get started on this project, which is, I don't know if I said at the beginning, we're going to be making pockets with little miniature journals on them. So to get started, I'm just going to choose a sheet that I want to use, and I have started to fold it and then realized I needed to take a moment to show you that kit. So what I'm doing is I have gone ahead and cut the white border off of my 8.5 by 11 inch paper because my printer leaves a white border. So once I cut that down, it leaves me a little over 10.5, not quite 10 3/4. So what I'm doing is I flip it over to the back side, and I'm just going to use my mat to help me measure it, and I'm just going to fold over 3 to 3 1/4 inch. So then once I do that, I'm going to turn it back over to the right side, and I want to match this folded edge up with the edge of the paper. And there we have our little folding done. So it's kind of like an accordion fold, but we're going to do some gluing and stuff so it won't be left like this. So let me get my paper trimmer. If you didn't have a paper trimmer, you could use scissors or you could just tear it. But I don't want my pocket to be this long, so I'm just going to cut it down to the height that I want. And for this one, I'm just going, each one I will go by the print, and I kind of like this one like that. I'm kind of centering this little rose up on it so that I have it. But once you get done, you'll have two. You'll have this one and this one. So one will be smaller. If you don't cut it in the middle, one's going to be smaller than the other. So before we glue it though, we're going to add just a little something to it. So what I want to do is I have these, and if you don't have these, I'm going to show you another way to do this in case you don't have them. But first I'm going to show you with these. These are those little little things that are on the back of picture frames, and I don't remember the name of them now, but they go on the back of picture frames to hold your picture in. But we're going to use them here to hold this little pocket shut. So I want to add that, and I'm just going to add it with some of these little paper fasteners. Let me see here if I can get this open. And I'm trying to see what size I need. I've got all different sizes in here. I've got a large one, and then I've got these small ones, and then I've got different ones right there too. And if none of these work, I can always pull out something. I've got a lot more different kinds. So this one, you just want to make sure that your little paper fastener does not go through the hole. So see how that one's kind of small? I want to make sure it doesn't go through the hole. That one worked just fine. I'm going to use that one for this pocket. So I want to just take, and I want it to go right there. So I just want to probably take a pencil or something and mark it if I can find one. I have an ink pen right here. So I'm just going to mark it about right here's where I want to put it. And so I'm just going to, if my pen will work there. Okay, so now I am just going to take, and I think I'll use my awl because my hole punch is not going to reach to that point. So I'm just going to take my awl, and I'm just going to punch it through very gently. I'm not going to push too hard because I'm just using 32-pound copy paper for this one. Not using cardstock. You can use cardstock for these as well, but I want to try it with the 32-pound paper first because once you fold it up, it's going to get bulky. And if you want to add this to a journal, you don't want it to get really bulky in your journal. So now I'm just taking the paper fastener, and I'm just going to pass it through the hole on the little picture frame gadget. I don't know what you call it. And then I'm just going to bend it over here, or turn it over here, and I'm just going to bend these open. That way it will stay in. and you've got your little fastener here. So now your little fastener will hold that shut. So now we just want to glue our pocket shut. So this is going to be our pocket, and since this is so close to the edge, I don't think that it needs to be covered. I don't think that anything, I am bending it backwards more so that it doesn't poke up and, you know, grab my, whatever goes in my pocket. I think it should be fine. If you wanted to, you could just cover it with a, you could just punch a little hole, and I'll show you. Let me just do that and show you real quick. You can just take like your 1-inch punch and some of your paper. It could just be a piece of scrap paper or a piece of paper from the kit. Let me see, I've got one over here. Let me just take a little piece off of it. So then you can add some glue to the little circle. And I've lost my regular glue bottle, so I'm having to use what's left in this bottle. This is the one I normally use to refill my smaller glue bottle, and I refilled my small glue bottle the other day, and now the whole bottle is missing. So I'm just going to use what I got in here, but it's very low amount, so I may have to just wait on it each time to drain down. So then you just take the little circle, and you can just put it over top of it. If you're worried that it will snag your anything that you're putting in your pocket. There we go, because you're not going to see this anyway when you turn it over. So now we're going to have the pocket's going to be at the top, so we're just going to add glue along the bottom edge. And up the side here. Okay. Just fold that over. And we'll make a couple together, so if this is confusing, we'll make a few together, and by the time we get through making them, I think it will make sense. One thing I wanted to do and didn't do before I glued it shut was I wanted to punch a half circle, so I'm just going to go in and do it now that it's glued shut. It's okay. So that way we can see where our pocket is. I also think inking it would be a good idea, so that you can kind of ink the edges and see your little pocket. And I am using ground espresso, and I think it looks really good with this kit. Just ink it up real quick. So you can see what this one's going to look like. I won't take the time to ink every one of them, but just that one's a good idea. So for the next thing, let me see if I can find the lid to this. So now we need to add the paper to our notebook. And so I have a stack of paper here. The other day I was making a journal and I totally messed up punching the holes. Well, I didn't want to trash my paper, so I knew that it would be perfect for this. So I just held on to it for this. So I'm just going to measure now and see. Because here is where the holes were punched wrong, I'm just going to tear that off so I don't have that in my notebook. And then we'll see here. Just want to measure, and then what's going to fit inside here. So there we go. All right. And then I'm just going to tear down here the extra off. There we go. And tear along the edge here. And you could cut that. You could cut all that just fine if you wanted to, but I am going to be just tearing mine. I do want to look. So see here, I just forgot the cover's a little shorter, so I want to take that off. So I'm just going to line my ruler up and make sure it's right inside. So once we get our guide here, then we will use it to tear down our other papers. We'll have to figure out what to do with those scraps now. So there we have it. So now we'll just lay it on here, and I don't think it's going to be able to go this direction because of the holes there, which I don't lose much. I think I will add it because all the sheets don't have to be the exact same size in the little notebook, and that way we don't waste any of this. Okay, so I'm just going to lay that here, and this is just some coffee stain paper that I had. I'm just going to tear it down. So you just want to go through and just get maybe 4 or 5 pages like this, pieces of paper. Just remember, you don't, like I said, it's going to be a pocket in your journal, so you don't want to make it too bulky. Okay, so I have some paper here, and I think I'm going to use one and then this one. And see, it's not exactly the same length, but that's okay because we can have different lengths of paper in here. You could even add some book pages or something if you wanted to, but I'm just going to put writing paper in mine. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so I think that'll be enough pages because this is just a little miniature journaling spot. And so once we have our paper in here, then we'll have our little fastener come around and it will close it up. So we'll come back and do all these in a few minutes. I'm just going to make up a bunch and then we will take and sew these in. So let's just make up a bunch and lay this aside and then we'll sew them. Okay, I had to dig through my paper. I want to use this one for the next one. And we're going to make this one the same, and then I'm going to show you some variations on how you can create these as well. There's another way you can do these, and it's different with your folding. So this one we're going to do the same way though. So I'm going to turn it over to the back side, and I really love that print. And then I'm just going to fold it over about 3 1/4. So I'm just going to put my finger there and measure about 3 1/4 over. Like I said before, it doesn't have to be exact. We're just going to make sure our top and bottom's lined up. And then we want to take our folded edge and just be sure that it matches up with the other edge. So we're just flipping it over. So you flip it this way, and I'm just flipping it to make it easier to fold. I'm just folding this one forward, then I flip it back over to the right side, and I'm just going to take the folded edge and meet the other edge of the paper. And that way, once again, we have our notebook and our pocket. And you could leave it this size. If you wanted a tall one like this to go in your journal, that would be fine. I've made some little notebooks this tall before in my journal, but this is a newer idea that I'm doing today. In the past, I made something similar and had just a notebook here instead of sewed in there. So now I just want to look at this one. I'm thinking I just want to cut down here. So it is going to be a larger pocket because I'm just kind of going by what's on the front of it as to where I want to trim it. So I think I'll trim it there. And I may trim a little off the top. So this one may go to waste, but I can use it in a collage. And so I just want to have about the same border at the top and bottom. So my pocket is approximately about 5 3/4. And so the first one was closer to, take a look at that one. It was a little over 4 1/4, almost 4 1/2. So that one's that size. So we're just going to do the exact same thing to this one, just so I can show you again how I'm doing it. And then I'm just going to get out another little paper fastener. And I got to get my ink pen out, and I'm just going to decide where it goes, and then I'm just going to mark it once again. Then I'm going to take my awl, and I'm just going to press. So what I want to do is be sure I open this up so I don't put a hole in the pocket, the back side of the pocket, and then just put a little hole in there, and then we'll take our paper fastener into our frame fastener, I think is what it might be called, but I can't remember. And I'm just, whoops, my fingers are not working. And then I'm just going to put that through the hole like we did last time. Everything's going to be the same on this one. Flip it over and turn this like this way. I'm not going to worry about that one. I'm not going to put one of the little dots over it since I've showed you that already, and I don't think for this type, the smallest this little fastener is, I don't think it's going to hurt anything, but if it was a larger one, I may need to. So now we're going to need some taller paper to go in. So I'm going to bring out this paper again and see what's the best way to fold it. Let's see here. So I'm just going to tear down the middle here. And then, oops. on this one, oops, where we at here? I'm just going to need to fold it over. So that was about 3 1/4, so if we just measure here about 3, we should be good. We'll try that before we tear them all down. That should fit inside there pretty good. Let's see how that looks. That's perfect. So let's just go through and do that, and I'll be right back. I think I'll choose some of this dotted paper that I have here too. It doesn't all have to be tea stained in here. You can use whatever paper you have. I can just tear this down. Okay, and then this one. Use my original one as a guide to make sure I'm getting them the right height and the right size. So we have our sheets torn down. So now let's just fold these in half again. So now when you sew these in, you can either choose to just hand sew them in, or you could take them to the sewing machine and use a long stitch. My only concern when I do that is, will it tear here? So I'm going to just hand sew them in with like 3 stitches, and that'll be all. And so then we're going to make sure our fastener's working. Make sure we don't have it too tight down. And there we have our fastener. So I will hand sew those in, and I'm going to ink this one. But first, let's take and glue our pocket shut. So once again, we're going to glue across the bottom, and we're going to glue the open edge. I guess it would help to take the lid off. So once again, we're going to glue across the bottom and the open edge. So right here at the bottom, you don't have to do this edge since it's folded. When you fold it over, that will close the pocket up. And then along the open edge. And then just fold it over. Okay. Take that paper out for a second. And once again, I forgot to punch the hole, but it's no big deal. We can just go in and punch it now. So I'll just turn it backwards so I can see where. Let me see. I may want to use my larger one. If it fits in that pocket, I don't know that it will. Nope, so let's just go with the smaller one. And we're just going to punch about right there in the middle. Here we go. So for these, we really don't have to decorate them because the paper is so decorative, but I may come back and add a little cluster or something or wording on it. But I want to make one more, and I want to show you the other way to make these, and then I'll show you how we're going to sew the paper in. So we can just sew the paper in on all of them at the same time. So another way to create these is if you have one-sided paper. So here is a sheet from the kit that's printed, and the lighting's weird in here today because it looks totally different on camera than it does in person, but this sheet here, I only printed on one side. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and still when you open it up. So like when these, we see here we don't have a white edge. That's why we got them printed on front and back. But if you had one-sided paper that had a white side, I'm going to show you how to do this. So we're going to start out just like normal. We're going to turn it to the back side, and we are going to measure over to about 3 1/4, and we're just going to fold our front over about 3 1/4. That might have been a little smaller, but that's okay. So then, once again, we flip it back over, and we're going to take the folded edge and match. Well, this time, actually, I'm wrong. So this time, we're going to leave it like this. We're going to take the, I've gotten the rhythm of making the other one. We're going to take our open edge here, open up our flap, and we're just going to fold it in. And you don't want to go right up against the fold line, because if you do, then you're going to hinder your flap from closing. So you can do it this way, and so see, you still have print on all of it. So you don't have to print on both sides. I just like the different print and doing that. So I think this one I'm just going to cut down and make it a small pocket. And so I'm just going to cut it about the halfway mark. So let's see, it measures about 8 1/4. So if I do about 4 1/4, no, do about 4. And just cut it in half. So there we have 2 pockets, and these will have to be decorated up because they do not have anything on the front there. So let's go ahead and punch our hole, our little tab, before we forget, before we get it all glued up and closed up. So I'm just going to punch a tab there, and then I'm going to punch the tab here on these. Just eyeballing it, but trying to get it centered best I can. Okay, now for these, let's say we don't have the little picture frame fasteners. What else could we put there? So you could take your little 1-inch hole puncher here, and you could just punch a tab, a little circle tab, and put on there. But you could also, let me see if any of these little tags, you could use those as well. So let's cut out this little tag here. I'm going to use the plain one because I'm going to decorate this up, and I'm not sure what all I want to put on the front yet. So I want to make sure I have it. Okay. So now this you could use as your tab. So you would only glue one side. So let me show you. So we're just going to take, oh, I want to ink it before I put it on there. Sorry about that. I want to ink this before I add it, because once I add it, I'm not going to be able to ink it. So I want to get it inked really good. So I'm just going to add it like that. Now you have 2 choices. You could just cut it off and have it like this. That might be cute too. Or I could just fold it around there like that. And then you'll just slide this out. That's what I'm going to do. I love it folded around. So you do have 2 different ways. You could do it up and down and do it, or you can fold it. I'm going to fold mine around. Let me get that evened up real quick. And then just add glue. So what you want to do is you don't want to add glue for the part that's going to be under the flap. So you're just going to eyeball where you want your glue. Well, that's what I'm going to do. And I guess this one, taking the lid off each time, I have got to find my bottle of glue. So I'm just going to eyeball where it goes. And I'm going to just leave this one folded around because you do just glue it to the journal page. And I think I should show you that too. I haven't showed you how you would actually use these. So let me see if I can find a journal handy. Don't see one. So let me just use a paper and show you. So you would pretend this is your journal page. You would just take and add these to the page, and then you would open it up and you would have your notebook in here, or you could add it to this side or that side. It really doesn't matter. So I've got my little tab made, and so this one you're going to have to fold up and tuck under like that. So now let's go ahead and glue our pocket shut. Once again, we only need to glue at the bottom and the open edge. So here's our bottom and the open edge. And I'm having a hard time using this bottle. Okay, so you're just going to fold it over and press. There we go. So now we have our little pocket, and then we're just going to add paper like we did before. Let me clean this up so we can get to our paper. And I may have some extras left over here from tearing the other down. It may be too narrow, I don't know yet. Let's just see. It's going to be too tall for sure. It may not be too narrow. It's a bit narrower, but I think it'll be okay. So let me fold this one. Just going to lay it inside here, and then I just fold it up to see. I want it to stay within the flap a little bit. There we go. I think I'll cut this one with my scissors because that's such a little bit to tear. I'm afraid I will just destroy it. So we have 1, 2, and I've got more over here. Let me dig through here. You could even use scraps like this. You could have different sizes in there. So let's just try that real quick and see what that's like. I got this one we could add in. Have to do it this way still. Oops. I'm not that coordinated today for some reason. Okay. Days are like that. I struggle, especially with this thing on. Maybe it's not much longer I have to wear it, but it sure does make me struggle some days. I didn't even get those words out. Okay, let's just fold this in half. And this one I only have 3 pages, but that would be enough in there as well. It is going to have to be all trimmed down. Somehow I've messed up on the height. Let's just trim them all at one time. I'm going to stick it in there and see if it all works. And it does. So we just slide it in there. So I'm going to now go ahead and start sewing some of these in so we can do that. Get to that point. Okay, so I've got my thread and I'm trying to find my needle now. I'm just going to use some of this cotton thread and see if I can find the end to it. And please overlook my dogs barking in the background. I hope that you can't hear them. They're out on the porch and they're still very noisy today. I'm going to do extra thread here. I'm doing enough for all of the journals, hopefully, so I don't have to cut thread again, but we'll see. Okay, so, and what I was doing is just counting 3 times for each one. I don't know if I'll need that much, but I just want to be sure I didn't run out. So I'm just going to line all my little pages up, and then I'm just going to put them, just like we're making a little book, and I'm just going to put them inside the cover here. And I do want to center it up and down so it doesn't stick out when I close my little pocket up. And then we're just taking, punch a little hole in the center, and then at the top just a little bit, and just a little bit at the bottom, just a little ways off the bottom. And I'm just eyeballing it. And then we will sew them up real quick. Okay, so just like when you're sewing up a little journal. But this is a good beginner project. If you have not made a journal before, this is a good little project because it is the same practice as making a journal. You're just sewing it all up. So this is the problem with cutting your thread so long, is I've got a long tail of it, but then you just go through your center and then you come up. This is how I do it. I'm sure there's tons of other ways to do it. You come up and through your top hole. Be sure you make your hole large enough for your needle. So we just go through the top hole. If I can see that. And then we're going to go back down through the bottom hole. I have to get a look at that. I've got a hold of my awl with all this thread. Oh my goodness. You see here. Get it untangled. So I got my thread tangled up. So don't do like me and have all this extra thread. It's too much. I should not been so lazy and just cut it again. So we went through the middle hole and then the top hole, and then we're going back through the bottom hole. And you could clip this together if it was easier for you. I didn't feel like I needed to, but it might have made it easier. And so then we're just going to go back through that center hole. Okay. And oops, I wanted to go through on the other side, but if you can't, you can always just move it and fix it if you didn't come through. Okay, so then we're just going to tie it shut just like we did if it was a little, like we was doing if it was a journal. Like I said, this would be a great practice if you've never sewed a journal together. This would be a good little practice to sew something together. Okay, and so then I'm just going to tie this shut, and I think I'm just going to leave the strings hanging for now, just for the looks of having strings hang. I like to see strings hanging, so I might just leave them hanging. I could tie a bow in the center. Let's see what that looks like. That may be cuter. But just however you want to do it. You could trim them off short if you wanted to. But I typically leave my strings anyway. I trim them down, but I don't leave them, I don't cut them real short. I always have some strings hanging. And I guess you could add charms to this if you wanted to. So I'm gonna do it like that. Okay, so there we have our first little book. Oops, I had it upside down, that's okay. So then you just take this and close it up. And that's book number 1. So now let's work on book number 2. We're gonna do the exact same thing. Just going to punch holes in the center. I'm doing probably about a 1/2 inch from the top and another 1/2 inch from the top. When I'm making a real journal, you know, I do about 1 inch, but since these are smaller, I'm doing smaller space between them. Once again, we just, let me fix my thread there. Just going through the center and then the top hole and the bottom hole. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and sew these, and then I'm gonna ink them up, and I'll come back to you, and what we'll do is we'll decorate the ones that need decorating, because some of them are plain, so we want to decorate them up. And we can decorate the ones up that's not plain as well, because we could always add more embellishment to them. So I was looking at these, and I've gone ahead and put them together, and I've left strings hanging on mine, but I was looking at the edge, and if you're using copy paper or something thinner, you could always take a piece of washi tape and just thicken the edge up, and you could find a piece that matches or goes with your pocket so that it's decorating it up at the same time as well. And I'm just going to try that with this one. Let me see here. Need to get it to where I can trim it off good. And that will just thicken your edge up so that when you're using your little metal piece, it's not going to tear up your flap. So see, now you've got that thickened up. My paper's a little thinner than I thought, so I think that I need it on mine as well. If you're using cardstock, you definitely don't need it, but it does add a little decoration too. So let's go ahead and decorate these. So I think the washi tape was a good addition. I went ahead and inked it off camera, and I really don't think this one needs a lot of decoration. We could just add like a little butterfly or something, or that might be a moth from Tim Holtz. And I could add, let's see if we have any lace that would go with that. That look good. Maybe make a little cluster to go on it. Just looking in my little scrap bin here, I've got different pieces of scrap. We may could just layer some things up and put on it. I don't know that it needs that much. I may would just add this little butterfly and be done with it. And I think that's maybe what I'm going to do. Here's a little book page. I might could put behind the butterfly just to make him stand out a little bit more. I don't know that it needs it though. I really don't want to over decorate it either. So I think just adding that's cute there. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add that little guy and keep it simple this time. Because I really need to focus on decorating the ones up that has no images on the cover. Because this one has a beautiful image on the cover from the kit, so I don't want to cover that up or take away from it. So this one's got a beautiful image as well, but I feel like this one could use a little bit of lace or something. That might be pretty along the bottom there. Brings out the pink in that, doesn't it? Or you could have it along the edge here. I think this would still work over it. That color lace, or let's see, I have other kinds of lace. Could go along the bottom or along the edge. Not really sure now. I'm just digging through my little bin here and just see what I have. Kind of like that along the bottom. I think that looks cute. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add that around the bottom, and I'm going to find my scissors to do that. Actually, I think I will use my Fabri-Tac first, and that way I'm sure that I don't cut. I'm always afraid I'll cut too much off and have to start over, and when you got little scraps, sometimes you don't have a big enough piece. This one I got a big enough piece too, but why waste, right? So let's just take and just add it like that, and then just snip right here. There we go. And so that's just simple. You don't have to add much to them, I don't think. I think that's pretty simple, but still gives it a little decoration on it. And when you add it to your journal, you can even put more decoration. So we have our pocket here, and I don't know if I showed you, but what you could just put anything in that pocket. I'm looking to see, there may be a journaling card big enough, or these may be too small for it. One of these from the kit may actually fit. Let's just see if it does. And I didn't, normally I print these on cardstock. I didn't print these on cardstock. I did my tags, but I did not print these. So I may have to back it with something if I use it, just like this. But I don't know if it'll fit this pocket. It doesn't. So another thing we could do though is fold it in half and make a little, this could be a little journaling spot, and just add it into that pocket like that. And there you have, or you can have a tile tag. I wish I had one handy, but you can have a, you can put a tile tag in it so that when you close it up, then you could have something sticking out from the top as well. Okay, so I'm just picking out a butterfly. I'm trying to figure out some decorations for this, this little booklet. And what I have done is I printed this page super small, and I think what I did was printed 2 of these for one page. I'm trying to remember if that's how it was. So yeah, I've been 2 pages per one page, and I think it shrinks it down to this size. But you just have to play with your settings to see, you know, for your printer, to shrink it down to be small enough. And so what I'm doing is just looking through the butterflies that I have from Your Creative Studio this past, might have been last month or the month before, and it was a butterfly theme, and so I was just going through the acetate, I guess what you call them, butterflies. They're the transparent butterflies, I know that. And so I'm just going through it to see if I find one that would go really good with this pocket. I think that one's going to be the only one that's small enough to actually fit in that little space. You do have the ones where they're just sideways, like you're just seeing half the butterfly. Ooh, I kind of like that one there. Let's try this one. I think this was the one I like the best. So let's take and decorate it with that. We move this out of the way. And I think I want a little book page behind it. Is this piece big enough? That would work, I think. Let's just see. It's a very small piece of book page that I had just laying here. I think that would work. So I'm just going to put my little butterfly on that. After I line up, I want to line everything up to make sure, since it is such a small piece, that it's going to fit. And then we'll just do it like this. And we'll just add our little clear butterfly. Okay. Just going to add it in there, and then I kind of want him sideways like he's flying. There we go. And then we'll just take, and I love where he's transparent, you can see the book page behind him. Now we're just going to add some glue to around the edge of this so that we can attach it. And so these are really quick. You can make up a bunch in no time at all. You just, I think it's better to go ahead and fold all your papers, sew all your notebooks in, and then, you know, go through and decorate them. And this bottle is almost empty. So let me see if I can get some glue out. So we'll just turn it like this so we can make sure we're lining it up where we want it. And let me just slide it up just a little, slide my butterfly around. Okay. And then we're just going to attach it on the front here. And I think that'd be a pretty little notebook. And then I need to make a session of making some tags. I actually am out of tags. You know, you always seem like you make a lot of tags up, and so I've gotten out of the habit of making tags because it seems like tags was one thing, was making all the time, but I do believe I'm going to have to go back to creating some tags because I'm out, because it would be nice to have a tag to slide down in these. And I think these look really good, like I said before, with the ground espresso ink in them. You can see it just sort of pops when you ink them with that. I'm going to take this little flap out so I can ink the edge. And we have ourselves some little notebooks, and I think I'm going to make up a few more of these and put them in my stash so that I have them ready to go when I'm working on the journal. I'm inking on the inside here as well, because when you open it up, you know, you can see it. This could even be a journaling spot as well, and this is our one that we made our tab that's just a cardstock tab. So this one you're going to close a little different. You're going to have to bend it like that and then flap it in. And then these, you know, we've got this little piece, and then this one as well. And I think I've already done, that was one I was going to put the little note in. And it may fit better in this one and stick up. Let's just see. There we go, and you got it sticking out some. You don't have to have anything sticking out. You could just have it tucked all the way in. But I think these make cute little pieces for your journal. So hopefully you have enjoyed this tutorial and you will give these a try. And maybe you're even crafting with me today. Hopefully you're crafting along and creating, use some little journal pockets. And I think that this will be a cute little hidden journaling spot when you flipping through your journal. I love for the journals to be interactive, so I think this will make a great little interactive piece to your journal. And so I keep adding more ink to that one. I thought it needed just a little bit more. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and bye.